Santo Trafficante Sr., 1886 to 1954, was a prominent figure in the American Mafia and the patriarch of the Trafficante crime family in Tampa, Florida. His life was deeply intertwined with the history of organized crime, particularly in the southeastern United States and Cuba. Here's a detailed look into his life, activities, and eventual rise to power. Early life and background. Santo Trafficante Sr. was born in Sicily in 1886, and like many Sicilian immigrants at the time, he came to the United States seeking better opportunities. His family settled in Tampa, Florida, which at the time had a growing population of Italian immigrants, particularly in the Ybor City district, where cigar making was a significant industry. Tampa had a significant underworld even before traffickants' arrival, and various criminal activities were already flourishing, including illegal gambling, bootlegging, and the distribution of narcotics. Trafficante would eventually become a key figure in these activities. Rise to power in Tampa. In the 1920s, during the Prohibition era, Trafficante became involved in the illegal liquor trade, smuggling alcohol into the U.S. and selling it in speakeasies. He also became a central figure in the growing criminal underworld in Tampa, particularly controlling the bolita lottery racket, a popular form of illegal gambling among the city's working-class populations. Through the 1930s and 1940s, Trafficante solidified his power by building connections with powerful mafia families in cities like New York and Chicago. His influence in Tampa grew, and he eventually established himself as the head of the Trafficante crime family, one of the more significant mafia organizations in the southern United States. The family was involved in various criminal enterprises, including gambling, loan sharking, narcotics trafficking, and corruption. Trafficante Sr. was known for being a quiet and strategic leader, avoiding the high-profile violence often associated with other mob bosses of his era. However, his empire was not without bloodshed. The Cuba connection. One of the most significant aspects of Trafficante Sr.'s operations was his connection to Cuba. By the late 1940s, the Trafficante family had extended its influence into Cuba, establishing casino and gambling operations there. Havana was becoming a haven for American mobsters looking to expand their gambling interests. Trafficante Sr., along with other mobsters like Meyer Lansky, invested heavily in Cuban casinos, hotels, and other businesses. This involvement would become even more pronounced in the 1950s under the rule of Fulgencio Batista, who allowed the American Mafia to operate with relative impunity. Influence in the Mafia world. Despite being based in a smaller city, Trafficante Sr. earned the respect of many other crime families. He built alliances with influential mobsters such as Lucky Luciano and Frank Costello. This network allowed him to grow his empire and extend his criminal enterprises far beyond Tampa. He was known as a behind-the-scenes figure, using bribery and political connections to maintain control of his operations while avoiding the public spotlight. This allowed him to survive in a dangerous underworld where many other mob bosses were assassinated or imprisoned. Crimes and murders. Though Trafficante Sr. avoided direct involvement in violence, the Trafficante family was linked to numerous murders over the years, most of which involved eliminating rivals or maintaining control over their criminal enterprises. The Tampa underworld was filled with power struggles, and Santo Sr. was careful to navigate these conflicts to keep his position intact. Several mysterious disappearances and murders in the Tampa area have been attributed to the Trafficante family during his reign. However, Trafficante Sr. was rarely implicated directly, as he maintained a low profile and carefully distanced himself from the violence carried out by his associates. Decline and death. Santo Trafficante Sr. died of natural causes in 1954, leaving behind a criminal empire that was taken over by his son, Santo Trafficante Jr., who would go on to become one of the most powerful mob bosses in American history, with a significant role in the Cuban gambling industry, drug trafficking, and alleged connections to CIA operations and the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. Trafficante Sr.'s death marked the end of an era in Tampa's underworld, but the family's influence remained strong for decades afterward, particularly through the work of his son. Legacy and influence. Santo Trafficante Sr. is often overshadowed by his son, but he played a critical role in laying the foundation for one of the most influential crime families in the United States. His ability to build a vast criminal empire in Florida and Cuba, all while avoiding the violent chaos seen in other mafia families, speaks to his strategic thinking and influence. The Trafficante crime family became synonymous with organized crime in Florida, and their operations in Cuba set the stage for future mafia involvement in the Caribbean. Trafficante Sr.'s connections to powerful mobsters in New York and Chicago helped legitimize the family's status within the larger American mafia network. Documentaries and media. While there are few documentaries solely focused on Santo Trafficante Sr., his life and influence have been covered in numerous crime documentaries that deal with the mafia's history in the United States, especially in the context of the Prohibition era, the growth of organized crime in Florida, and the mafia's operations in Cuba. Some documentaries that explore his legacy include The Mafia in Havana, a documentary detailing the mafia's presence in Cuba, including the Trafficante family's operations. Inside the American Mob, which covers various American mafia families, including the Trafficante family. Cuban crime lords, highlighting the connection between American mobsters like Trafficante and their operations in Cuba. These documentaries tend to focus more on his son, Santo Trafficante Jr., but they give a broader context to the family's activities. Conclusion: Santo Trafficante Sr. was a powerful and strategic crime boss who helped build one of the most influential mafia families in the U.S. He operated quietly, avoiding the violent confrontations that characterized other mob bosses, while expanding his empire into Cuba and beyond. His legacy continued through his son, who would go on to play an even larger role in the American mafia. Thanks for tuning into Sika True Crime Docs. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating tales. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories to life. See you in the next episode.